don't we?
Oh, boy.
We put them on T-shirts, folks.
All right, we are live on YouTube, so we're going to get this started right about What is up, everybody? Welcome to Comic Book Club. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And we're coming to you live from a couple of places on the internet. We are live on YouTube. We're live on Crowdcast. Maybe you're listening to us later, wherever you listen to your podcast. That is all good. But we have a lot of stuff to talk about, folks. There's a lot we need to do in this episode. But first, as we always do, we're going to check in with the Apple Fitness app and see how Pete's doing.
Wait, what?
His
No.
Yes.
Let's do the... We got to
Pete.
read the names, a-hole.
I'm sorry, this is a recurring segment.
on,
So
let's,
Pete and I are now
let's just-
friends. We're now friends on Apple Fitness, which is
Something
good.
that Pete
I knew it was a trap.
regrets.
As soon as you... I was like, oh, I got a notification here. Alex wants to be my friend. I was like, this is a horrible idea.
Well, you said
It's
yes,
actually
and
been
that's
pretty
friend-
delightful. I've never in my entire life wondered how much Pete is moving, but now every day I'm checking it almost constantly. Find what's going on.
Zelvin's
Your main
cheating,
form of
which I'm
social
not-
media.
I'm
Yeah.
not surprised by. Zelvin cheats.
I cheat? What are you talking about?
All right.
By
the
walking a
monthly-
lot?
No, the monthly thing is to close out the outer circle. So it looks like Zelvin doesn't move anything else, but the outer circle is closed.
Oh,
every day.
okay. So I don't have this is too much information for this. bit
Yeah,
that
you
I'm doing
started
at the
Sorry,
top of
let
the
me
show.
just set it up. Sorry, we're shooting Grumpiest Old Men, and
Yeah,
this is
great.
just sort of the opening, cold open.
Can we read the names, please?
Yes. Okay. So first of all, exercise 16 out of
Oh,
30
my God.
minutes. Stand 10 out of 12 hours. And move. I won't mention your calorie goal, but you're not quite there yet. All I'm saying is like maybe take a couple of laps during the show, Pete. That's all.
I'm reading comics, all right? It takes up a lot of time.
Not a big burner for reading comics.
Yeah,
but
just
metaphorically
before we
speaking.
wrap this up here, I just want to ask Pete, because I literally have had the temptation every day since you allowed me to friend you on this fitness app. How would you feel if I started texting you and be like, hey, Pete, it's time to get up and move?
There's a
creepy,
lot
man.
of things that could have been the death of us, but it's crazy. It's a fitness app.
All right. Aaron
wild.
C.
All right, hold on.
Hollis,
Let me
let's
set
go.
this part up. As we always do towards the beginning of the month, though it's a little late this time, we read off thank yous for people who are supporting us at patreon.com/comicbookclub at the $5 and up level. But thank you to everybody who supports us at any level, because it really does help keep the show going. But we're going to read off their names now as a thank you. Kicking it off with Aaron C. Hollis,
Adam DeRose,
Adam Horowitz,
Adam Marks,
Adrian Moreland,
Elena Fontenot,
Amanda Harris,
Andrew,
Andrew Primo,
Andrew Tillman,
Beer Cat PhD,
Benjamin Brown,
Carly W.,
Carrie Matthews,
Chelsea Mack.
Chris Leatherman,
Christina O'Merlo,
Whoops, we got to stop him from saying that one. Christina Rensfield,
Chris Terlizzi,
Clemens Luer,
Corbin Orbidoodle,
Curtis Locke,
Deman Ryan,
Dan Snow,
Daniel Cabral,
Daniel Fuentes,
Danny Heck,
Debbie Gloom,
Dennis Scott,
Derek Mainhart,
Dylan L.J.,
Eduardo Martinez,
Emmett Quish,
Aaron Durian,
Jeffrey Risher,
Gerard de Villiers,
Isaac Carter,
Jake Fry,
James Connolly,
James Kurtz,
Jason Donahue,
Jeffrey Whaley,
John George,
Jonathan Jong,
Jonathan McCool,
Joshua W. Broxson,
Julian Lobato,
KC Newhaven,
Kevin Grimes,
Kevin Kleiderock,
Kieran Broderick,
Cody Thomas,
Kyle,
Lewana Thomas,
Luke Asink,
Mark Zeller,
Matt Tice,
Matthew C. Hernandez,
Megan Thigpen,
Michael Tillman,
Nelson Kelso Martinez,
Nick.
Oops.
Oh,
sorry.
that's you. Off-White Savior,
Nick
Officials.
Grace was supposed to say.
official CBC chef Brett Macris,
Stray Bullies. Omna Soul Art,
Oren Dix,
Oidis Larson,
Pedro A. Rangel,
Pete's Pretty Kitty,
oh boy,
Primetime Paulie G,
Provocative Ambulance,
my favorite kind, Rev Mikey,
Robert Pettinato,
Sarah Schottenmuller,
Sarah Schaefer,
Scott Carpenter,
Scott England,
Stanley.
Tamela Rush.
Taylor Bryan.
Terrible Jason.
The Big Flood.
The 12 Badge.
Thomas Glenn.
Victor Perez.
Will Buchanan.
William Leach.
Zachary Backman.
And Zika's Viral Comics.
Thank you, everybody, for supporting us. We appreciate it. If you'd like to support it, you can do it for as low as $2 a month. And not only do you get access to our Patreon Slack, where we're talking about, let's be honest, mostly food, but occasionally some comics.
I mean, truly everything. I get a lot of my news from Angela Lansbury died. Straight got the news from the Slack.
There you go.
Probably from Pete's upcoming trivia.
In a couple of months, probably. We'll see what happens. But yeah, also you get access to our back catalog of podcasts for well over a decade at this point. I think it's 11 years of podcasts. So I think it's a lot of value for the money.
Just turn on a podcast from the early days and you can sleep for an entire week and it'll play constantly.
All right. We are going to bring in our guest here. He is the creator of Faceless and the Family, which is currently up on Zoop, Matt Lesniewski. It is doing extremely well there. Matt, welcome to the show.
Hey.
And congratulations. Did you just launch today? Is that correct? Or
11 a.m.
Okay, so you launched at 11 a.m. We were taping this at 7:07 p.m. And I'm just checking it here right now, of the $12,000, this is your goal, you're hoping to get $12,000, you've only gotten $15,669.
Congratulations.
That's insane.
Now, just off the jump, what is that like for your day? Starting at 11, maybe a stressor, maybe an 11 a.m. stress hit. How did it go forward from there?
I had some tears a little while back. I'm not gonna lie.
That's so
definitely had some tears. I'm in shock. I thought maybe I'd just make it by at the very end of the 30 days, or maybe a little more than that. But I'm in shock.
Well, the comic is absolutely gorgeous and really well done. I was super impressed with it. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's talk about this a little bit. I'm gonna let me bring up the Zoop page first, just so people can look at that and sort of have an idea here. This is a gorgeous book with some absolutely gorgeous art, like a lot of the stuff on Zoop, I think, which is we've talked to other folks on there before, and it's this really well curated platform. But what can you say about the plot of it? Because it is this wild, almost dreamlike journey. The way that I read through it, how do you pitch it to people?
Well, yeah, it is. It's pretty strange, I guess. I didn't really, pick a genre and follow that guideline. I just sort of got these ideas and started putting this thing together, and then it grew, ideas stacked on top of other ideas, and it morphed into what it is. But so. Essentially, it's a small group of misfits all on the outskirts of regular society, or in their own unique scenarios. They're all, misfits in some way. And over the course of this one journey, they form a family-like bond. And that's essentially all it is. It goes a little bit more in depth, but that's, overall, that's kind of what it is. And after, I'm not done with drawing the book, but after a certain point, I kind of looked back and thought, oh, it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz, but its own weird spin, because each character is, it's mainly centered around Faceless, the main character, and he's looking for a new face. That's a whole thing. And then the other characters, they're each looking for their own one specific thing as well, but they're all going on the journey with him. So that's kind of what you could think of it as.
Well,
Jim there.
Oh, go ahead, Pete. Please.
Yeah, Jim there is looking for a journey. He's looking for memories. So it's kind of reminds me a little bit of Wizard of Oz, where everybody has their thing they're kind of out there doing, and they kind of team up. So it's not only super creative, but it's a really kind of tripped out, dreamy feel to it.
Yeah.
Well, could you talk a little bit about the design of the main character for people who are listening to the audio podcast version or who haven't checked it out? He has a body of a normal human, and then his helmet is very tall. It's almost like he jabbed a telescope lens down on top of his head. What was the inspiration there?
So with Faceless, who's the main character, his backstory, I don't ever say the exact ages in the book, but I guess when he was, let's say, 18, he joined this underground gang, which you can actually see pictured there. It's the Carpal Tunnel Gang, because they're living on the Hand Planet, and basically they emerge from underground and they do what they do. But because he didn't know how to be himself, he became something else. Mm-hmm. But he quickly realized, oh no, I'm in a gang. This isn't good either. So he left the gang, and he was living. You can actually see on the other page there. He's living in the mouth of a fallen statue for a decade, amongst a cluster of pipes, like just the plumbing of the world. He was hiding there, and he only left to get food and then run back. So after about a decade, he finally decided, I'm done with this. I'm leaving. If they catch me, I'll use the same training they taught me to go down with a fight. But I need some sort of a disguise. At first, he was just going to have like a basic mask. But since I had him down there with the pipes, I thought, oh, what if he just used one of the pipes as his helmet / mask, and he's using a pipe as his weapon? He's using what he has. I mean, he's got no money, clearly. He's spent a decade just surviving. So yeah, it kind of spawned from that. And then I started sketching different pipes, different ways that he'd make a pipe, a mask. Like one had a little metal thing that you'd pull down, and it would just be a shadow, and maybe you'd see his eyes, and you could play with that in different ways. But then eventually it popped in my head, oh, pipes can also have, like that rubber tubing. A lot of it's an excuse for me to just have fun and just play with what this character can look like.
Just getting into plumbing, sort of in general. Something that stresses me out. Well, let me ask you, because you are the creative force behind this, it sounds like maybe you get excited about an idea and then you get excited about the visual. Are you jumping back and forth between the sort of two disciplines there, or is it all just sort of coming out?
Well, at first it's all in my head, and it's all imagination based. Like before I do anything, I usually spend a lot of time pacing around, and I'm visualizing not even necessarily a story. I'm just kind of seeing the world. I'm seeing the characters. Oh, now I want this guy to do this. I want this to happen. All right, this person is this kind of character. And then it just starts developing. And after a while of doing that, once I'm seeing a lot of it, I'll blast it all down with text, but it's all a big mess. And then I have to organize that. And then somewhere in that process, I start sketching. So I'm going back and forth between get down those ideas, get down the visuals, and then start honing that. And then I start doing a script for myself, and then we move into drawing the actual comic. So it's kind of, it's a chaotic thing, but I try to keep it fun. Like I try to keep that in my mind. Like I'm doing this because I want to be doing it.
What I was going to say is it feels like, you could sort of refresh yourself as you jump to the next step while also sort of editing yourself. Cause you're like, right. Oh, this visual is definitely the lead, but let me back it up with some story. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to do that certain thing, or like, he's not going to be on the foot planet. He's going to be on the hand planet. So I leave the foot stuff out or whatever it is, and I love that because you're sort of doing the fun part and the responsible part at the same time. The hardest thing in any creative endeavor.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of different comments here over on Crowdcast. People wondering about different influences. I'm going to read out a couple of them to you. You let me know if any are accurate or on the right track at all. Edward Doherty says, is the Yellow Submarine movie an influence? Derek Mainhart says, definitely some indie artist feel, like if Charles Burns drew Flaming Carrot. Josh Ace says some Mobius vibes. Derek adds some David Rubin too. I definitely felt a bunch of R. Crumb in there. That's sort of what I was getting from it. But
ooh, he's reaching back behind him into his
personal Carrot right behind him. There you go.
Oh,
wow. I actually met this guy last year at Dragon Con. Don't tell him, but I've yet to read this.
Oh man,
it looked cool. So,
yeah. Well, what are your major influences then?
I love David Rubin. His work's awesome. We actually worked on, not together really, but a couple months ago there was a mind management spin-off, and each issue was drawn by a different artist. I did issue 2, and I believe he did issue 3. Wow. So, little fun fact there.
We had Matt on the show, and he raved about you guys. He talked up all of the artists he brought into that book.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was so, like, he definitely shouted you guys up here. So that's always
one of the nicest guys I've met, like, ever.
I mean, what was, again, like Justin mentioned, we talked to Matt about this a little bit, but from the other end of this perspective, what was it like coming into a series like Mind Management, getting into that world, and then coming up with something that is part of this connected story over, I think it was 4 issues over the course of the series, but you still, it's very clearly coming out of each individual artist as well. Matt is playing off of that. So what was it like playing in that world, I guess?
Well, luckily I didn't have to start things off, so that was a huge advantage. The first issue is Farrell Dalrymple, and who he's incredible. He really set the bar. And going into it, no one told me to do this, but it was only 20 pages, but I spent 2 months I'm like, I cannot be the weak link here. Each issue is going to be a different artist. I need to do everything I can to shine and at least not be thought of as, who's this guy? Especially because I'm newer and not a ton of people know who I am. So I'm like, so essentially I looked at what he did on issue 1. So I didn't have to come up with the characters. I didn't have to, plus Matt's scripts, they leave you a lot of room to just kind of do your thing. And it's not this overbearing, no, it's got to be like this. You got to have this detail. It's pretty, he understands because he's an artist too. So it's easy to work with. And so, yeah, that was kind of the mentality.
So you're saying you might have done some pacing on that issue as well?
Some pacing?
Yeah. Walking around. You're saying when you're working.
Oh, yeah. Actually, no. Actually, on the first page, I remember, because it's set in India on the first page, and they're actually going across the world to all these different countries, and that kind of stressed me out big time. And I remember actually sending an email saying, I'm feeling a little frustrated here because this is really not my strength, drawing exact places. And I did my best, but then they just told me, like, don't sweat it. Like, you got this. Just, look at some reference and you'll be good. And I just kind of, I guess it's a mix of referenced places and what I would normally do, I guess. So I don't know, but in the beginning, the pressure was definitely.
Well, just because it was bookended by Farrell Dalrymple and Colleen Duran, that's no big deal, right?
Yeah, that didn't help.
Well, I will say, because we reviewed every issue of it, you crushed it. Yeah, it looked amazing. Great. So congratulations on it. It was an awesome.
Another comic we talked about was Crimson Flower. Right, like that. Great book as well.
Yeah, that was. Kind of the same thing. That was the first big, comic book thing. I'm working with a known writer, and I'm with Dark Horse Comics. It's gonna be this big thing, And I'm like, all right, I have to do page a day. I need to prove that I'm worthy of even being here. And it was right when the pandemic was starting. So I didn't need to do that because comics were coming to an end.
Yeah.
But I still did that. And no one told me to do that, but I maybe could have made those pages better if I didn't,
Well, I mean, naturally, you're going to know
not to interrupt. You're being very hard on yourself. They look gorgeous.
They're so good. That's what we talked about. The book was like, because the story is, it's sort of a riff, and we were like, oh, the story riff, but the art really like sort of pushes it into that next realm, and so we like, don't be so hard on yourself. You're crushing it.
Justin, I think I remember you saying like, oh man, the person who drew this must be so stress-free because the lines were flowing.
Exactly. It's just so loose, so natural, no worries in the world.
I remember saying during our review that whoever drew this probably has a really nice closet packed with comic books right behind his head.
And I'll tell you what, Alex, that was very prescient of you. I don't know how you nailed that. Really great review.
I don't know.
You're a mind reader.
Yeah, there you go. So this is going to be up for the next 30 days, Faceless and the Family. For those who weren't watching live, what are some of the bonus things that they can get from Zoop if they pledge the book? What are you particularly excited about that people can see?
Well, the big thing is there's actually a free reward, and it I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but it's basically going to link to another live YouTube show with my art rep, Inky Knuckles, and it's going to be like a live auction art thing where I'm going to be showing off the original pages, and people can buy a page through that.
Oh, wow.
So cool. It's kind of a unique, different way of doing it.
I've never heard of that, but that's so smart.
Because you get to, as good as a webcam can do, really show, here's this page, and then people can comment and interact. And so, yeah, if you're interested in the actual art, that's going to be, and it's, like I said, it's a free tier, but it's only for the first week that you can get that. But you can just add it to your order. That's how it works. It's just like add to cart.
Yeah, get in there.
And then aside from that, we've got 3D printed figures. So that's pretty cool.
That's I feel like that's something that I would want I feel like you would want as the creator. You're like, I want.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I actually am gonna be honest. I stole that from Nick Pitara. He had a Zoop campaign, and for his axe wielder John, and I saw that, and I'm like, I need that. I have to do that. Because growing up, I was obsessed with action figures. I had tons of them, and I just, speaking of imagination and thinking up weird scenarios, I'd be doing that in my room with the door closed, and I'd have these little guys, and they'd be going on adventures and fighting and doing these different things, and I'm still doing that.
You got a marble maze pipe over Spider-Man's head, and you're like, this is something here.
Exactly.
What was your action figure poison, if I may ask? Because I feel like different phases of people have different.
I had every Batman, not everyone, but they were all different Batmans. Like there was a water one, there was a.
Oh yeah.
Well, now I'm having a brain fart, but there were like 20 different ones when after the animated series came out.
Oh yeah.
It was all the same model. It was like the Bruce Timm
accessories. Yeah.
And they just had different version of him. I remember there was the water one though. Like I don't know what that was about, and then Dragon Ball Z as well. I had.
Oh, nice.
Every Christmas I needed, a new Dragon Ball Z guy. Like
nice.
This year I need Piccolo. This year I need.
Piccolo.
So I was obsessed with those. Just I always needed a new one, and.
To the spam. I feel like we've never talked about this. Alex, Pete, what were your action figure poisons when you were young?
Oh, great question.
Well, go ahead.
No, please, Pete, go ahead.
I would start off with Star Wars. I even had the Darth Vader kind of like suitcase to keep them in. Yeah. And then it became He-Man, and then Transformers.
Yeah, definitely.
Those are big figures. Those He-Man figures, and plus Skunk or Stunk for real.
Yeah, I know. It was awesome.
Gross.
No, it was not gross.
Very similar to Pete. Still have a bunch of those old Star Wars figures. My parents actually gave them to my son recently, so they're in my house upstairs. And
wait, you got cut out generationally?
I mean,
your
he's not allowed
gave
to
them
play
to
with
your... Oh wow!
And someone just and here you go. There you are. And Transformers, that was probably the big thing that I played with. I really like Transformers, and not to be like, rare old man, but the old Transformers were much better. Like, they actually transformed properly in the new ones.
Wow,
very
old
hard
man's
to transform.
Album. That is
the old ones are better. They actually transformed.
And I used to know them when they transformed.
See, they had a kung fu grip, so you couldn't drop them.
And they had a little hologram. You put your finger on the hologram, and it would reveal whether it's an Autobot or a Decepticon.
The battle armor lets you know how many strikes they had.
It's very funny, Alex. Pete's making fun of me, but you're doing it. What he's making fun of too.
He's not complimenting me right now?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I sort of feel like Matt doesn't need to be here for this.
Sorry, I know I started this, but I do because I was the Secret Wars rubber Marvel characters. I got my hands on some of those, and they were awesome. Well, because they were the only ones that you could bend their arms, and it felt like it gave you more opportunity for play. Like, to Matt's point, like.
Well, just like in the comic book, I think it was issue 6 of Secret Wars where everybody bent their arms in weird directions, right?
Yes, exactly.
So
that was
cool.
part of the whole plan. That was the secret of Secret Wars. Bending. Being
and
bending.
that's why you need to check out Faceless and the Family now on Zoom. Thank you so much for coming on. Congratulations on the success. I'm sure there's plenty more to come, and we are very much looking forward to Faceless and the Family and whatever else is coming next from you.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Doing a great job, man. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Right out the Zoop. Let the Zoop go nuts. The hard part's over.
Zoopy.
There you
It's
go.
Zoopy.
Thanks, Matt. Have a good night.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah,
Great talking to you, man.
All
It's
right.
Zoop
I just
season.
wanted to dive into his closet. Did you see all the comics in that thing?
Pete, once again, that is your one job. You got to bring this up before
He pulled one out, and I was just like, but what else?
Yeah, you wanted to see more.
Someone
Once again, Faceless of the Family. It's on Zoop right now. And folks, we are going to move on with our next section, which is my favorite section because you all make it up. It is your audience questions.
I just wanted to point out Edward Doherty was like, Pete, I thought it was Ninja Turtles. Yes, my next phase was Ninja Turtle action figure. I'm realizing now I did action figures for probably way too long into my life.
Yeah, I feel like you were still playing with them when we started this show, and you're the mid 30s. When did you start this? How old
I think it was the young 20s, was it?
Well, anyway, for audience questions, all you got to do is leave a question and ask a question on Crowdcast or in the comments over YouTube. We'll get to those. I see a couple of them already coming Crowdcast. But first, let's go to this week's drink. I actually don't know if Stray Bullet, Brent Macris, our CBC chef,
He's got
is
to work
here.
tonight. He can't be
But I bullied him this week into picking our drink.
You stray bullied him, I believe.
I stray bullied him.
Because
the internet is going crazy for a Negroni Spagliato with Prosecco in it, as shouted about by the two main stars of House of the Dragon right now. Basically, all it is it's Campari, it's sweet vermouth, it's Prosecco or champagne or whatever sparkling white wine you have around. That's pretty much it. You don't have to say Prosecco in it. But very fun little TikTok video that everybody's going crazy for, but also very good drink.
Very good drink. And if you don't
trendy.
if you don't want to open a whole bottle of Prosecco for it, you can just use regular old gin if you want.
Oh, and then it's just a Negroni non-Spagliato without Prosecco.
If you don't want as much Spagliata in your life, you know?
There we go. All right, we got a bunch of questions here. This one is from Stray Bullet. He left for us before he left us. He had something else to do tonight. That sounded very ominous. What is everyone's favorite Halloween show / movie?
Great stuff right there.
Well, right now it's everybody's loving there on Netflix Stranger Things, but overall I would have to say It's the Great Pumpkin, because I saw an amazing play with a friend of mine, and it was just absolutely adorable.
Very nice.
Nice.
This is not about me. I'll mention what I'm into in a second, but this immediately made me think of, I was talking to somebody the other day at a dinner party, very fancy.
Okay, here's a
I
fun.
know. And they were like, "Oh my God, it's Halloween season. I love Halloween. I always love watching like scary movies and spooky movies over Halloween." And I was like, "Oh, great. Are you doing like a 31 Days of Halloween type thing? What have you been watching?" And she was like, "Well, I watched Hocus Pocus 2.
Ooh.
And I was like, "Okay." And then I was waiting for anything else. And then eventually she's like, "And on Halloween, I'll usually watch Nightmare Before Christmas." I was like, "Okay, so you don't actually like scary movies."
Yeah.
That's fine. But are we talking about like all time or just right now?
I think
both.
I think
Whatever
both,
you want to
really.
answer.
Yeah.
Just fucking say something.
Okay, I mentioned this on the Week in Geek podcast. Wow, somebody's got to start moving. They're getting a little sedentary here, right, Pete?
Yeah. Get him. He needs to do a lap. Pete, could you do a
do
quick
a lap, Pete? Get your energy out.
Don't
Your
tell me
energy is
my
getting all
business,
pent up.
motherfucker.
Sorry, you shouldn't have let Alex see your business, your physical.
I recently watched X, the Ty West film, which is awesome.
X
so
gonna
good.
give it to you.
X gonna give it to you as the DMX story. It's very scary. No, it's great, like very meta horror movie. And Pete, you will not like it because there's naked ladies in it. I know you don't like naked ladies, but it's about a bunch of folks that go to film a porn movie at a farm, and they don't tell the old couple who live there that they're shooting a porn movie. It goes very wrong. But it's very smart about like sort of the intersection between the dawn of porn and the dawn of horror movies, and it's very reference heavy.
I thought you were going to say the
super smart.
intersection of old people and young people.
Yeah, very, very good. Really like that. Another one that I watched the other day that wasn't great but was interesting is this Finnish movie called Hatching, which is about a Finnish girl who finds an egg and then hatches the egg, and spoiler, this huge monster comes out of it, and the monster is super gross. But I enjoyed that. I had a nice time watching that.
I guess I got a shout out from the olden days, Mr. Boogedy, which we used to watch a lot. The Disney sort of scary Disney movie. Mr. Boogedy. It's on Disney Plus.
Okay.
It's about a guy who just jumps out on pornography sets and says boogity boogity boo. You'll see if you're watching porn, he'll pop up.
Great.
Yeah.
Scary, very scary.
Yeah. Did you know they have that on that's one of Pete's move rings. That's how much porn he's been watching. It just lets me know.
See,
I don't want to say how full it is. I don't want to blow up that spot.
Are you guys having fun?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, yes. And also, it's a trap that you fell into that Alex has taken advantage of. And then it's Mike Flanagan season on Netflix. So gonna get into some Midnight Society's the new one, right?
The Midnight Club.
Midnight Club. Midnight Club.
Yes,
Midnight
I got
Society
very confused about that.
Predator.
So I watched the first couple of episodes of it, and first of all, the entire time I was like, okay, so this is a remake of the old Midnight Society thing, the Midnight Society. And then I watched the first episode, and they never said submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society. I was like, this is very weird. And they didn't do it in the second episode either. And then I realized, oh wait, that's Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Are You Afraid of the Dark? Yeah,
which is a totally different thing.
Yeah, the lightly scary Nickelodeon series.
Yes. Let's go over to YouTube. Nelson Martinez says, Werewolf only comes out at night. I assume Werewolf by Night. Was a great Halloween-style surprise. Enjoyed the pod, too. What other spooky movie shows are you looking forward to dropping this month? And Keely McLeod, relatedly, says, have you guys watched Werewolf by Night yet?
Hell yeah, we did.
So much fun.
We had a whole chat about it in our Marvel Vision podcast feed.
And we all liked it, which was great.
Yeah, that was a rare surprise.
Well, especially we've been watching She-Hulk in that feed, and there's been some controversial takes back and forth. The most recent episode of She-Hulk was sort of a bright spot, and following up on the Werewolf by Night hit. So, like, It's a real time
There
over
you
in
go.
Marvel Vision.
What a great time to be a Marvel fan. Yes, it's very good. All right, why don't we move on to another question here? This is from Edward Doherty. Which comic events had a great concept but didn't deliver in terms of storytelling, and which events sounded dull in concept but delivered a great story?
Great.
Mm.
I think for me, we've talked about this a fair amount in the past, but the Sinestro Corps War was like, oh, this is going to be some like different colored rings are going to fight. But then they delivered a story in the special, I think, which was just like one of the best Kyle Rayner stories that has ever been, and just really hammered that through. So definitely check that out. Another one very recently that I've been talking about, at least, the AXE crossover that's going on in Marvel now. The most recent issue of Spider-Man really popped, I thought, as a crossover there, when I just didn't expect that to be good.
Well, but I also think, throwing out, and we've talked about this a lot on the stack, that is a crossover where I really like the central idea of a celestial judging all of Earth, including the heroes and villains. That's great. There's so many things going on in that crossover at the same time that it convolutes the whole thing. It muddies the issues. There was a weird lead up to get to that point of the celestial judging everything. I'm not quite sure how they get out of this or how it's satisfying or changes anybody anyway. So that's a little bit of a bummer for me. On the other end of the spectrum, in terms of something that like I wasn't necessarily jazzed about, but I really think about very often, is Final Crisis. Because Final Crisis, I was like, seriously, well, mainly because like I don't need another Crisis event.
Yeah, well, that was the final one.
That was the final.
Yeah, that was it.
Well, that's the thing, is that I keep returning to, which I didn't really, I guess, totally realize what I was reading it, but that Grant Morrison's idea was, this is literally me, Grant Morrison, writing the Final Crisis. Here's the end point of all of these stories. This is the final Superman story, the final Batman story, the final Wonder Woman story, etc. But he was doing them in continuity and pushing them to those insane Grant Morrison places he can only go. So that's something that, like, at some point I really want to read that again, because reading it at the time, I was like, yeah, this art is great, but this is weirdness. And then the more I've thought about it and the more I've read about it, the better it gets.
That's interesting, because I would be curious to go back and reread that. So many crossovers have sort of pushed on that border into like, let's get weirder. I feel like Grant Morrison really set a standard that a lot of people are trying to meet. So it would be interesting to see if, going back and reading that, it seems a little bit more tame at this point.
For me,
go ahead, Pete.
The one that I was a little disappointed in was the I'm not sure what the event was, where it was the DC event where we got all the colored lanterns going. And
the
it was
like Corps War, the one that Justin was just talking about.
Oh, was
that
kicked
it off? That kicked it off.
Okay, yeah, I think it was that past the Sinestro Corps.
Oh, were you thinking of Blackest Night?
Blackest Night or Brightest Day? Yeah, and that one I was like, wasn't. I mean, I was excited about the color rings giveaway. That was fun, but other than that, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't that exciting. Of a comic.
I agree with you. I think like the thing with Blackest Night that I remember us talking about back in the day was there was a real opportunity to dig into this Uber story that Jeff Johns was telling about, oh my gosh, not Guy Gardner, Hal Jordan. Wow, I blanked on his name for a second. Hal Jordan.
He's sort of one of the Green Lanterns.
I'm not familiar. Hal Jordan and his dad. Like, that was the major story that Jeff Johns was telling. Yeah. And it never really stuck the landing in terms of that with the end of Blackest Night. And that was the thing that sort of was a sticking point for me.
Well, let me track that back to another crossover that I feel like did what sort of set up what Blackest Night did. Was Infinity War, the follow-up to Infinity Gauntlet, which in the comics, it was the first crossover. I was like, awesome, they're doing that thing again. And then it was such a bloated crossover, something where it was like all these different characters were fighting their doubles and everyone in the Marvel universe. And then the story sort of never really came together in a way similar to Blackest Night, where it felt like, oh, we expanded so much and every hero in the DC universe had to face their a reanimated version of the most important person in their life that died. Great idea, but the narrative just got lost in all of those little micro stories. And I think that's what sort of it plagues a lot of crossovers that we're talking about.
And I feel like the one that did work, and I feel like the one that still, like, for me, you think about moments from it, is Civil War. But the one I would wish got more recognition was the one where they made it was pretty recent, Daredevil, where Kingpin got to be the mayor, and it was such a small
Devil's Reign.
Yeah, Devil's Reign. That was such a so much fun, and So
I mean, we've talked about it. It feels like the mini crossovers are doing a lot better. DC versus Vampires. When that first came out, I was like, okay. Even the title, it was like, oh, they're gonna fight some vampires, cool. And then it's amazing. Like, it's so good, and it is like that.
Ben the Border Collie calls out Annihilation, which was a legit awesome crossover, and that's something that like really set the tone for Cosmic Marvel for years to come.
Yeah.
We could probably talk about this forever, but why don't we go over to another question here on YouTube from Stanley. Did any of you go to New York Comic Con? Do you still enjoy going to Comic Cons? I think I was the only one that went.
Yes, I think that's true.
Okay, you don't have to be weird and flexible about it.
So this is actually a funny thing I want to mention here is somebody that I saw.
Wait, first off, hi, Stanley. Thank you for your question. Okay, now you can go.
So I was at New York Comic Con this weekend, and I saw our friend Nat Townsend, who's on the show.
Punchable face, that guy. Punchable face.
I saw Nat Townsend. We hung out at a panel, chatted a little bit, and I remember very distinctly after the panel we were chatting and talking about New York Comic Con on this very podcast that we're doing right now. And what I said to Nat, I don't think Nat is here in the audience this week, but I'll mention this anyway, is I was like, what's going to be funny is I'm going to mention I went to New York Comic Con, and Pete's going to be like, oh, Mr. Big Stuff going to New York Comic Con. So thanks, Pete.
Yeah, no problem.
You closed that particular move ring is what happened.
Exactly. Move ring.
Yes.
Mood ring.
So... yes, I did go to New York Comic Con, but do you guys, I mean, I could certainly talk about it if we want, but do you guys still enjoy going to Comic Cons?
I do. I like going to cons. I want to go there. I mean, especially looking back at all the work we did at different cons was such a blast always. So I would definitely go back and do that stuff again.
I mean, what's not to love? It's got comics and the people who make them, and then all the nerdy people who love them like us. It's just the greatest.
So
and then they set up a table, then they give out free high chews. I mean, come on, dude.
Yeah. I'll tell you what's not to love about it, because generally I had a good time. And one of the things that I really, to your point, Justin, I didn't spend a lot of time on the con floor, but I did walk by those old glass booths that we used to do.
Yeah, you like to be above it. You like to be looking down on the people. Why are you doing this?
I was about to give you a compliment and be like, I missed doing this with you guys. Sorry, Pete. Sorry, I missed doing it with Justin. There we go.
We all did it together, and it was.
Yes, we did all do it together, and I did miss doing it. Like, I definitely had a moment of nostalgia walking by, and I was like, oh man, I missed those days. Those were super fun. It was kind of terrifying at points going to the con. It was so packed, particularly on Sunday. It was overpacked to the point where you couldn't get anywhere on the con floor. I didn't even bother going there. But so I was there Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. And I had already heard on Thursday, people are like, yo, mass coverage is bad. And just to give context for anybody listening, mass coverage was required by ReedPop, who runs New York Comic Con. So clearly they were not enforcing it. I expected by Friday maybe there would be a difference. But when I got there by Friday night, I did not count or anything, but it was legitimately like 1 out of every 20 or 30 people maybe were wearing a mask. Not great. It was much better on Saturday, and I think on Sunday as well, where there were people actively giving out masks and stuff like that. But like the overcrowding conditions and people just wandering around, it's just, I don't know. We're still in the middle of a pandemic, and it definitely felt like, hey, this is a recipe for disaster. This is not great. So that was a bit of a bummer. But otherwise, it was packed, and there were people there, and they were having a great time. So
was it like packed like at the peak pack, or was it packed for after COVID pack?
No, it was like packed at the peak pack.
It was packed.
Wow.
It was Pete packed is how I like to call it.
Oh, okay.
It really was. I was very surprised because I expected it to be like a little lighter. Nope, it was full throttle going again. So there you go. All right. We do have a follow-up here from Keely McLeod. If you can indulge me, Pete, what is your favorite thing to do at New York Comic Con? Pete, pick up a nice roast beef sandwich. I know that. Justin, what about you?
Sure. Doing the interviews we used to do in the Sky booth. But I guess, for me, it is walking the floor, getting to Artist Alley, saying hello to any artists and writers that we know, and seeing the people who are there that are just really, it's such a barometer of people who are like on the come up, people who are just like mainstays. Like it's a really cool way to just see comics in action, an industry that we are always reading and being a part of, but to actually be on a con floor, it feels like you're in sort of the machine. Yeah,
Artist Alley is definitely where it's at.
Pete's the king of Artist Alley. Jim Lee's the king of San Diego and New York Comic Con, as Edward points out. But Pete's the king of Artist Alley.
Just to see kind of like different people's status rise, like Justin's talking about, like sometime they'll start off and they'll be doing sketches, and then, they're working on a book and then they got a line in front of them. So it's really cool to kind of watch the evolution, but it's also just amazing to see what people are working on and all the different creativity and amazing stuff that people have talent at. It's just you kind of get blown away by it. It's really very moving.
And back in the day, it'd be like Pete would come back and be like, I got a third interview with Tim Seeley. Can we use it? It's like, well, we sort of covered it in the first two, probably. Yeah.
I'll throw out something else that I actually did find very positive about this weekend, just because I haven't been to a con in probably 3 years, I'm going to imagine at this point, so I was mostly going to TV panels because that's the stuff that I was covering for work. And
we get it.
I legitimately really missed seeing this stuff with thousands of fans in a room.
Yeah.
Like, the best one to me was, so they had the quote unquote final panel for The Walking Dead. And this is, the final panel for the main show. They're still going to do spin-offs and whatever. But those panels are always great. Like, the cast is on it. They know how to do this stuff. They connect with the fans. The fans love them. And, like, they didn't show a whole episode or anything, but it was that moment, and this was relatively early in my time at the con, where they showed the opener of the next episode, and people were losing their minds.
That's cool.
It's a good feeling. It reminds you what is good about fandom and the connection of fandom in terms of, like, thousands of people will all feel the same way about something, being in a room together, feeling the same thing. That's a lovely thing to be part of. So I definitely miss that, even though I was concerned about health things. I think going to a lot of these panels and seeing people react the same way and seeing people have real emotional connections with the talent involved and the material and everything was really beautiful.
That's awesome.
So there you go. Moving on. This is from Kevin. What are comics that make you feel cozy?
Cozy comics.
Kevin,
a little snuggle comic.
Nesting for winter. Let's get a snuggle.
Let's just get a little fire going and nestle up with a nice comic. The first thing that I think of is Squirrel Girl, just because it's adorable and hilarious.
Interesting. I was going to throw out the comics I like to fully put a blanket on for and get into are like more lush worlds. I would throw out, and this is stealing a Pete answer, Mouse Guard or something like that, where you can really bone, to steal my own answer often, like where you can get into
I thought you were saying Mouse Guard, where you can really get under the covers so you can really bone,
Oh my God.
Yeah, and you get boned, Bone of the comic. Bone a comic. Bone the Bone comic.
Yeah.
This is getting weird.
I'll throw out Heartstopper is the first one I think of. I think that was the
interesting.
The comic's so good. It's so cozy and warm and nice and wonderful. Good stuff.
Oh, I love Derek's answer. Anything by Jill Thompson. There is something about Jill Thompson's art that is cozy. I don't know what is it. Is it
the watercolors?
The watercolors?
It's the way, the way it just kind of sits on the page it's so inviting and welcoming.
Great call.
Yeah. I would say also like Owly is also adorable. I like to cozy up with a nice little Ollie book, you know.
Mm-hmm. This is over on YouTube. Max says, how is everyone doing? Just chipping in for a few minutes. Who is the one artist, dead or alive, that you would have loved to meet? I think generally speaking, it would be pretty upsetting to meet a dead artist.
Yeah. Be like, yo, I'm sorry you died.
They would have some questions. How did you conjure me here?
Send me back!
And we would be like, draw. Keep drawing. We need more.
I was in heaven!
No, Jack Kirby, you must draw more. We need you.
Oh, no. Well, I'm Jack Kirby.
Oh, my God.
Who'd you want to meet? Dead or alive? Literally any artist that you never met before. Pete, Tim Seeley, right?
Yeah. I definitely would love Greg Pak, Tim Seeley, you know, just some real legends.
Yeah, people you've met like dozens of times. True.
Yeah.
You want to re-meet them?
I mean, the kid in me would love to meet like Jim Davis, you know,
from Garfield.
Yeah, you know, Calvin and Hobbes, you know what I mean? Like that's the real.
That's a different person, but sure.
Yeah.
You want to meet the comic strip gang.
Well, that's what first, like, it was the comic strip that kind of like, for me, kind of started the whole thing.
Great answer from Andrew Tillman, Darwin Cook. Shouts to that. Would love that. Someone who I don't know if we ever talked to back in our time before he died, but great artist. I mean, Mobius is a huge answer, I feel like. I have a Mobius print that which is a portrait of an artist. It's him at his drawing table, and I just sit and talk about that.
I know it's top of mind right now, but I would say Paul Reiser, honestly. Like, he's one of the greatest.
Rough Risers.
Risers.
What an artist. In The Boys, the most recent season of The Boys, I think he really cemented himself.
Yeah, and Pete, you've been watching Stranger Things, so you know this Paul Reiser guy.
Oh, yeah, definitely. People are talking about Jack Kirby because I'm wearing the shirt, but I'm kind of intimidated to talk to him because he feels like a tough guy who I feel like would just be like, "Hey, you're one of them hippie kids, huh? You don't have a real job."
Of you, Pete. Don't.
Yeah, he would not tolerate. Well, do you guys remember? I think we met Joe Kubert once, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we did at New York Comic Con. I want to say we had him, and he was. Very kind and nice, but definitely someone who was like, "What are you talking about? Why are you?"
It was Joe, Adam, and Andy. I think it was all three.
I think we had all of the
right?
Kuberts. Yes.
Yeah.
Talking about the Kubert School, and he was doing that comic that was dinosaur based. I want to say.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember that? I think it was a 4-issue series that we talked to him about. It was awesome. He was such a kind man. But I feel like those classic guys, they literally have been at a drawing table for 60 years. They've been spent their whole lives at the drawing table. So they're just like, let's just talk about this stuff. I don't want to get into Pete's fitness app, you know?
No. Oh, he wouldn't like that if he came on our podcast.
No, he's like, Joe Q would be like, Pete, not running enough. Whoa. Man.
This is from Josh H. What is a great issue or collection of comics to read for Halloween? I need some fresh ideas for this scary time of year.
Well, Ice Cream Man, obviously, for if you want to.
That'll scare you.
Oh, yeah.
Also, this is a new one I'll throw out. We talked about it on the stack, but Dark Ride by Joshua Williamson and Andre Bresen.
First issue, yeah.
Great kickoff.
Last week.
Yeah, so good. Derek recommends The Goon. That's a great suggestion as well.
Good. Well, and that makes me think, because at this time of year, I'm always chasing artists. I want to be more haunted by the visual. And I feel like Kelly Jones art is what I've been craving a lot of lately. And that stuff is.
We got some stuff in the stack coming up. I'm excited to talk to you about
Kelly Jones is the opposite of cozy. He's like sharp. Or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Exactly. And just like it's like Jay Lee is a style that's like a little scary, but it's not purposefully scary. Kelly Jones is like, I'm in your nightmares. So here, I'm going to show them to you.
Yeah.
This is from Pablo D. Martinez. What's your favorite comic based on your favorite toy and why?
Oh, well, that's easy. Captain Bucky O'Hare.
Oh.
And then
but you liked the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic based on the toys and animated series.
No, I liked Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles before they became any of those things. And then I collected
sure it was
originally they were just a bunch of turtles that were enjoying pizza. Did you like them back then?
Yeah,
just real turtles.
No.
I loved them. I loved the turtles when they were real turtles.
What do you mean real turtles?
When they were just regular turtles. Because that's the thing. Like, everyone got on the bandwagon when they became teenagers and mutated and learned their ninja stuff. I liked them when they were turtles. Okay? Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, I love the Transformers. I liked them when they were just cars. Yep. Okay? I'm an OG kind of guy.
There's this new show called Transformers Earthspark. They were advertising it outside New York Comic-Con, and it has the Transformers standing in the background of these two kids, and they're both riding bikes, which is very weird to me. It feels like, well, because they're other vehicles, what kids do.
Right? They ride bikes.
No, but do you think the Transformers are jealous? They're like, why are you not riding me?
But it'd be weird if the Transformers hey, kid, you want to ride inside me? Like,
don't they do that? They're always getting inside Optimus Prime and shit.
Course. But I was going to say maybe
once they're a car.
Right. No, I'm not saying like they're climbing inside of their robot body. No, that would be weird.
It's the same body. It's just lightly transforming. But I feel like a lot of the transforming, the children would be crushed.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't
particularly Michael Bay Transformers. That's how Megan Fox
Spike
died,
was inside. Oh no.
Oh no! I was carrying 4 horses to a horse race. They're all dead.
Oh boy! This is a suggestion from Mac over on YouTube. Tomi by Junji Ito for good manga horror, and also Cult of Dracula and Rise of Dracula. There you go. Mm-hmm. This is from Derek Maynard. Keeping it on our toys discussion. Did you ever mix and match your figures like Transformers versus Thundercats?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Hell yes.
Hell yeah.
Because I loved. I had all those rubber Secret Wars figures, and I would mix them with the I don't know what run it was. The DC figures that they could do one move, like Aquaman could chop. And I think Superman lifted his arm up to fly, and like they were always very stiff, and all the Marvel figures were like always flexed and bendy. So they had a fight between who was like chilling and who was like a little too formal for the party.
It was the only time they could like really cross over, and it didn't like upset me. It was
I've definitely explained this on the show before, but I used to take all of my action figures and line them up on my floor. I'd put the heroes on one side and the villains on the other side. So it was these two big armies facing each other. And above them, the two main heroes who were like hanging back would be like, it's not our time to fight yet.
We're going to come in at the end.
Yeah,
take credit.
One of them was Rodimus Prime.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying there were two figures who were sort of hosting the event and like talking about all the...
They're the ones that were so powerful. They're like, we can't get involved yet.
Oh,
wow.
We
have to let them fight it out by themselves. Yeah. And then when it went really bad, they'd be like, all right, now we have to help. And so one of them was
sort of saying stuff like, in this fight, I feel like phase 2 of this fight is going to be a really interesting idea. And
I liked how much
phase 1 is just
there was before you were just fighting.
But when everybody was eliminated, they were like, all right, now I get involved. It was Rodimus Prime, the Transformer. The other one, and I've definitely told you this before, was Dickie Francis Jr., my Cabbage Patch Kid eraser, who was the most powerful being in existence.
Every time you say it, it makes me... The fact that your favorite figure was an eraser with a Cabbage Patch like sticker, essentially, on it. It was your favorite hero.
My favorite toy.
Where's that? Oh, is that in a special pocket in like your boxer shorts, or where does it live in your life now?
All I'm saying is, when I grew up at the junkyard, that's all I had, you know.
It reminds me of that Tick episode where he had the little wooden boy that it was his like sidekick, except for you as an eraser.
Yeah, my favorite part of the fight was them trying to explain how they had never met before the fight. Like, who are you? We're like, well, I'm in a different world than yours. And it'd be like, what? It'd be like, yeah, listen, you guys don't really operate in the real world. You're in your own separate world. Like, I don't know.
That is crazy to hear because that is easily your least favorite part of any comic we have reviewed.
It's very funny that Alex did like literal commentation with an eraser. And Pete's like, yeah, I would have my figures fight about the fact that they were different from each other's universes. And he didn't actually, but
there was no overlap. They didn't know who they were, you know.
A lot of your figures were having like an awkward dinner party. Basically, they were like, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. You're Superman. I'm sorry, I'm Spider-Man. Oh, you don't remember me? Okay.
How do I describe this? How do I describe this? All right, that is it for your audience questions. We're going to move on with our next section, which is trivia. And for that, we're going to turn it over to Pete LePage.
Oh my God, sorry, Derek Maynard just blew my mind with that last comment he made.
Shout it out. My sister used to take from Derek. My sister used to take my Star Wars figures and have them be romantically involved with the Barbies. Of course, that's like only natural. That's what I'm saying. Like my toy box was just like a nonstop party. The Mask figures were coming in different disguises. You never knew what they were up to.
Oh, Mask was such a fun time. An amazing theme song, great figures, killed it on the cartoons. I mean,
well, it's very funny. Better, well, not to interrupt, but even better when you do trivia where you could win a $25 gift card to either Midtown Comics
Alex,
or
we're still talking about this.
Or Long John Silver.
Or Long John. Let's not forget the LJS of it all. But Matt, the Mask figures were like Transformers that were just lying because they were like, we transform, but it's a secret. We're sort of fixing it.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mike T has already volunteered, so I'm just going to go ahead and bring Mike T into...
Well, go ahead and do that already, then.
The stream. Oh, I'm the one that's delaying.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, Alex, can you catch us up? This is a very important segment that we do called Trivia.
Mm-hmm.
Hey!
Whoa! Look, talk about this comic wall behind you.
Man, look at that nerd wall. Oh, glorious.
Beautifully
one's
organized.
Facing us. Give us a couple facing us right now.
What's that? Sorry?
The plastic. Give us a couple titles that are facing us. The sheen of the plastic. You can't really see.
Oh, geez, yeah. I've got a black and white version of Matteo Scalera's Harley Quinn.
Yes.
Nice.
Up over here somewhere. I can't really point to there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Strange Academy, a whole bunch of trades and stuff. I don't know.
Cool.
A lot of
That's
stuff.
awesome.
Amazing.
Too much to describe. I got an Avenging Spider-Man up there. I love Joe Mad.
Joe Mad. I was almost said Joe Mad as an artist who I would like to meet because man, what a time he had when I was young.
For sure.
Shout out to the pool cues in the corner, by the way. Very good.
So we got to get through this show because Pete's got to do trivia, and as we always know, he does a tribute to a departed celebrity. There was a huge celebrity death today, so I'm sure he's going to be hitting that. Pete, take it away.
Okay, today's trivia is on topical comic news and a small nod to the legend, Sacheen Littlefeather, R.I.P.
Motherfucker.
Please listen to all three options before making your selection. Question number 1. Blank Ghostlight introduces a new Marvel superhero 54 years into the making. Is it A, Silver Surfer, B, Alberto Alex Alvin Angel Martinez, or C, A Martinez? So it's either Silver Surfer, which is the only one that makes sense according to Marvel stuff, or
I think it's going to be Silver Surfer.
You are correct.
I have trouble understanding the tropical comic news portion, though.
Oh, that's too bad.
Pete has a sun lamp. He has a sun lamp on him at all times. He's
drinking pineapple juice. He's drinking pineapple.
You gotta enjoy the tropics when you can. Here we go. Question number 2. It's Harvey Awards time. Who won the Book of the Year? Is it A, The Good Asian, B, Far Sector, or C, Margaret Kidder? So it's either A, which is very exciting and very cool, or it's B or C.
That sounds like A.
Yes, it is. The Good
A.
Asian won. It's very exciting. We
Great
love
book.
that book. Super happy.
Margot Kidder or Margaret Kidder?
Margaret Kidder.
Margot?
Is it? I don't want to get into this with you assholes right now. All right, here we go. Last one. At the New York Comic Con, Alex, you were there. DC announced what new project for 2023? Is it A, Luthor Planet, B. Lazarus Planet, or C. Christopher Walken? So it's either A. Luther Planet, which sounds cool but is incorrect, or it's B. Lazarus Planet.
I guess I'm gonna have to go with B.
You are
Great
correct,
choice.
sir. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. You are going to win either a $25 gift card to Midtown Comics or a $25 gift card to Long John Silver's. Which would you prefer?
Well, we haven't even talked about Mike's Long John Silver's wall behind him. So let's get
into I have a long-lasting love for Long John Silver's.
but no, yeah, I'm gonna Mike T here.
No, I'm definitely gonna go with the Midtown Comics.
Okay,
smart.
Fair enough. Do you have a guess?
I don't think they have those where I am.
As to the secret movie that Pete is referencing that stars Margaret Kidder, who went to Wintersville High School, married Mike Kidder, and studied at Presbyterian University Hospital School of Nursing, according to this Facebook page that I just opened.
Just constantly trolling Pete.
Does Kevin have the answer by any chance?
Great. Hey, Mike T gets it. Kevin definitely does because he already predicted Chris Walken as the third option.
He's also trolling me.
Yeah.
But we're talking about the 1978 movie that probably doesn't hold up, Shoot the Sun Down.
Of course.
Well, Mike, thank you for coming on. Shoot us an email at comicbookclublive@gmail.com and we will get you that gift certificate. Thank you so much for coming on. Awesome. Great wall. Have a great night.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.
Thanks, man.
All right, there we go. As we all know, new comics are coming out all the time. There's a ton of cool ones to talk about. Pete, what are you looking forward to?
Man, there is almost too many to list. There's so many great comics. I can't wait to argue with you guys about it. But for me, some of the top ones were Wonder Woman number 792, Batman versus Robin number 2, The Jurassic League number 6, and Do a Powerbomb number 5.
Justin, what about you?
Great picks, but I got to shout out Superman, Son of Kalel, number 16, featuring, this comic is already out. I won't spoil it all the way, but this is a comic that we talk about a lot, about just the great emotionality that is written with and understanding of the characters. And there's a scene at the end of this issue that I was anticipating the entire time, and it did not fail to deliver. Man, it was so good.
Come on.
So
now, I'm looking forward to, there's a title coming out tomorrow that I've been very excited about. I've been a big supporter of the series all along. Once in Future number 30. You guys know how much I love a badass grandma. So very eagerly anticipating this final issue here by Kieran Gillen and Dan Moore.
Final one.
Nervous about how it's going to turn out. And I know, Pete, you haven't been as into this, particularly like in the middle portion. You felt it was a little middling, I think was the word.
Yeah.
You
kept saying middling.
The opposite.
Yeah, you kept calling it
That's
middling.
Interesting that you
But there you go.
would
But
say
I
that.
will, in all seriousness, this was definitely my most anticipated book of the week because I was curious to see how they would tie it all up. All of those books are going to be in our Stack podcast that posts Wednesday, 9 a.m., both in the Comic Book Club feed and its own dedicated Stack feed. And folks, that is it for this week's show.
Yeah.
We want to thank Matt Lesniewski for coming on. Check out Faceless and the Family on Zoom.
Please
right
do.
now.
It's amazing.
Next week, we're going to have two guests here. Allie Mainhart, very similar last name to one of the folks that is in our comments right now.
Yeah.
Is going to be here to talk about I Love-ish New York City, her new book, as well as, after a very long time, Jordan D. White is going to be back.
No
way!
Oh, wow.
To talk about the X-Men books and how much Pete loves them. A couple of other things we want to plug. Marvel Vision, our Marvel podcast. We are going to be talking about the She-Hulk finale this week, but as mentioned, you can check out our Werewolf by Night episode, as well as all of the other episodes. The Doom Room, our Doom Patrol podcast, coming out, and totally coincidentally going to end just in time for season 4 to come out.
It is crazy how the timing works. And let me just say, we recorded that podcast truly so long ago, I would be so curious to hear what the fuck we're talking about.
Umbrella Academy, our Umbrella Academy podcast is finally finishing up season 3 on Monday, so check that out. Patreon.com/Comic Book Club to support the show and all the shows we do. Don't forget to subscribe and follow Apple, Android, Spotify, Stitcher, or the app of your choice. At Comic Book Live on Twitter, Comic Book Club Live on Instagram, comicbookclublive.com for this podcast and many more. Until next time, good night.
Good night, folks.
Thanks,
Hey, Pete,
everybody.
take a lap, Pete. Take a lap. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.